Now from the Tri-States news leader in high definition, this is WGEM News at 10.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Brian Inman, tracking the potential for some strong storms on Saturday. We'll give you an update coming up in just a few minutes.
And coming up, the game that you know and love, whose founder is from Macomb, will soon have a big resemblance in Macomb. Plus,
we're not on the track to fiscal insolvency.
Budget talks are sparking in Macomb as a decision will soon come what the budget includes. Good evening, I'm Mackenzie Henderson.
And I'm Daniel Wynn. New at 10, we now know when the hearing before the Illinois Courts Commission will happen for the Adams County judge who made a controversial ruling in a sexual assault case.
The Herald-Whig reports during a pre-hearing conference today, officials set the hearing for Judge Robert Adrian for November 8th. They say they expect it to last up to 3 days. In October 2021, Adrian found 18-year-old Drew Clinton guilty of criminal sexual assault during a bench trial. Well, Clinton faced a 4-year minimum prison sentence after serving about 5 months in jail. Saying that was a just sentence, Adrian overturned his verdict. The Judicial Inquiry Board filed a complaint saying Adrian prevented Clinton from serving a mandatory sentence, retaliated against a prosecutor for agreeing with critical comments about him, and gave false testimony. If the commission sustains the board's complaints, it can issue sanctions, including removal. Well, new at 10, the city of Macomb is 4 days from implementing the new fiscal year's budget. As of now, it is more than $4 million higher than last year's.
WGEM's Dylan Smith spoke with city officials and joins us in the newsroom now. And Dylan, what is the reason for the increase?
Well, Daniel and Mackenzie, the budget accounts for several large one-time expenditures, and that's one reason Mayor Michael Inman says is for the increase. Now, most notably, the $38.5 million budget calls for $425,000 in upgrades to the fire department and $300,000 for a special census. Now, overall, Inman isn't worried about expenditures outweighing revenue because the difference is solely those one-time projects. Now, coming out of the current fiscal year, Inman projects the city will have a $7 million surplus.
This has been just like every other year. We tend to overestimate expenses, underestimate revenue. So this $2 million out of balance that we project going into this is likely to be less than that when we end the fiscal year next year.
And the reason for conducting a special census, Inman says, is because he believes the 2020 census came in lower than expected. And he says a more accurate number could restore tens of thousands of dollars in funding. In the newsroom, Dylan Smith, WGEM News.
Thank you, Dylan. And the city conducted a special census after the 2010 census, which Inman says recovered more than 2,500 people.
All right, gang, we are watching Saturday's weather. The potential for severe weather once again upon the tri-state area. A weather alert for the region. We're going to break down the timing for you coming up in just a few minutes. That's not the only thing we have to worry about. A red flag warning is out also, and that's just for extremely dry conditions right now. It's the relative humidity, and it's some dry brush concerns, and then a little bit of a gusty wind. Those watches and warnings are going to fire up again tomorrow, most likely, for the red flag warnings. Today's high temperatures near 80 degrees, and here we are sitting at 10 o'clock at night, and the temperatures are still very mild at 63. There is an end in sight to the warm temperatures, but the main thing is the severe weather update in just a few minutes.
Thank you, Brian. New at 10, the city of Macomb is taking the game of Monopoly up a notch with plans to create the world's largest Monopoly board. The Macomb Area Convention and Visitors Bureau is using a $40,000 state matching grant. The Bureau's executive director, Jock Headblade, says 4 sculptures will be put in place on each corner of the square. One of them will be Monopoly's creator, Lizzie McGee, who was born in Macomb. Headblade says an app is also in the works.
We're going to build this into something that is a wholly unique attraction. Nobody else has the claim to Lizzie's birthplace, and Monopoly is, arguably one of the most popular games in the world. So we hope that it'll draw people in and draw people into the downtown area.
It's a favorite for sure. Headblade says he expects the work to begin within the next few weeks. A completion date possibly next spring. He says donations will fund the other $40,000 of the project.
The Quincy Police Department might get an upgrade to its radio system. Chief Adam Yates says they set the radios to analog when they bought them in 2020, but now they want to upgrade to digital because the Adams County 911 Center is doing that. Yates says he needs a $220,000 budget increase so they can make that switch.
Since the upgrade was completed, we have found that we have lost connectivity with our radios. There's a lot of static. There's just been a ton of safety issues because our officers have not been able to talk to one another. They've not been able to talk to the dispatch center, and that puts them at risk and it puts the public at risk.
And if the proposed budget increase passes, Yates says he wants to see the upgrades happen within the next year.
A construction project in Quincy will finally start this summer after officials accepted a bid from a Macomb company for more than $2 million. Laverdiere Construction submitted the lowest bid of about $2.6 million and will do the project. The work will include new asphalt pavement installation, sidewalk repairs, and lead water service lines replacement. Engineering manager Steve Bengy says the construction or reconstruction project is long overdue.
This is a rough street. It's one of our mostly poorly rated streets in town. So I mean, it's an old brick street for the most part that's fallen apart and it's been patched, and potholes everywhere that have been filled in over the years.
The project will run on Payson Avenue from 5th to 8th Streets. Bengy says construction should begin in June.
As Illinois tries to transition toward a clean energy future, lawmakers want to make sure there is still enough reliable power to supply the state. Staff from Reliability First talked to senators about the power grid and resource capacity in Illinois today. Reliability First is one of 6 companies that works with the bulk power system across the country. Experts say when thinking about energy reliability, lawmakers must consider that coal and gas plants are closing and solar and wind are dependent on weather.
You know, with all the complexities around the great energy transition, it is essential that state energy policies provide sufficient time and flexibilities to align energy goals with the reliability needs of the bulk power system.
Senators and that company hope to have more discussions on this topic in the future.
A new bill moving through the Iowa State Capitol could make it easier to legally bring guns onto campuses. The proposed amendment says public colleges in Iowa, including Iowa State, would have a limited authority to ban dangerous weapons on campus. That goes against the current rules at Iowa State. If you would like to carry on campus right now, you need prior approval from Iowa State Patrol.
I'd be fine with everybody with guns.
Okay.
Because if one person pulls a gun, there's everybody else to get rid of that person. And I feel that that's a safer alternative than hoping that somebody good has a gun.
Guns are obviously not very safe. If I knew someone that lived on my floor or my building even had a gun, I wouldn't feel very safe.
A bill specifies that places of higher learning cannot ban weapons as long as the weapon in question is stored away safely in the gun owner's vehicle. It would cover all community colleges and universities governed by the Board of Regents if it becomes law.
And a bill in Missouri that would ban gender-affirming care for minors now moves to the Senate after passing in the House today. The bill prohibits gender transition surgery, hormone treatments, and puberty blockers for those under 18. Before the vote, Democrat and Minority Leader Crystal Quaid asked House members to reconsider their priorities. Republican Brad Hudson, who sponsors the bill, says it protects children from sex-change drugs and surgeries. The Senate passed its own version of the bill last month.
Well, hospitals can be scary places for adults dealing with surgery. It can even be harder for kids.
As Taylor Deckert reports, some cuddly friends are helping children overcome that fear in Sioux City, Iowa.
It was pretty scary in a car accident.
A day the Gosler family won't forget, getting into a single car accident on October 20th, going headfirst into a tree. 5-year-old Harper remembers the whole thing.
In a car accident, Hunter's mouth was bleeding and he lost like 8 teeth. Mom slid over to the other side, in a passenger side, and she had a broken leg and a broken arm. Hunter had a broken arm.
Hunter and Harper were in the hospital for 6 days, and their mom, Anna, in the hospital for 2 weeks, saying it was a long recovery.
Our night doctor took out my blood with a little shot, and it didn't even hurt, but I screamed a little bit.
It was a little easier having their stuffed animals dressed in wrappings where their injuries were. At Mercy One, stuffed animals are donated from various places, given to kids in operating rooms to help improve a child's experience.
It's been fun, and it's been just kind of a pick-me-up for some things too, especially in the trauma situation. It just kind of helps them get over that little bit of a fear.
Creating a personalized experience.
A lot of times if they're coming in for a broken arm, for instance, we'll use this guy. We always put a hat and mask on everyone, and then we'll wrap whatever extremity the patient's having done. And usually we ask what their favorite color is, so that when they wake up, this will be on the cart next to them.
Something the kids will remember forever, a scary experience that now has a silver lining for Hunter and Harper.
I just want to say thank you to all the doctors and nurses that helped us that day. I know I don't remember much of anything and wasn't a help to them, so having the stuffed animals given to them was just really comforting and giving them something to hug on to when Mom couldn't do it.
And that was Taylor Deckert reporting. Well, coming up, we take another look at the historic flooding in Florida.
And Brian's in with a look at some potential rain this weekend.